Let's do predictions for Playday 3 of Stage 3 of the NAL 2021 season. So the games are going to be Astralis versus Oxygen, Dark Zero versus Mirage, Sonics versus Xset, and Beast Coast versus TSM. Just going over the graphs I have, these are the current standings from Stage 3, Stage 1 stuff, Stage 2 stuff, and changes from Stage 1. The overall standings from all three stages. Then Stage 1 predictions, Stage 2, or rather Playday 1 predictions, Playday 2 predictions, and now we have Playday 3 predictions. So, Astralis versus Oxygen. Astralis formerly known as Disrupt, and they were Disrupt for these two games, so that's why I have it notated that way. So Astralis beat Oxygen 7-2 in Stage 1, and they beat them 8-7 in Stage 2. In Stage 1, Astralis was sort of hot and cold. They were winning some pretty good games against some pretty good teams, and then they were getting some questionable losses based on the wins they were getting. Like they lost to Beast Coast was one of them, right? Is it? Yeah. And then in Stage 2, this was just a really good game. I had this pegged as my favorite or the best or however you want to call it game of Stage 2. It was a cafe game, and cafe hadn't been played that much. There were some funny casting moments. There were a lot of plants, a lot of objective play, and it just came down to the wire. Really exciting, fun to watch game between two teams that were at the time really close in the standings. And I think, well, I guess they ended up close in the standings too, because Astralis was 5th and Oxygen was 6th. So who do I want to predict for Playday 3? Okay, right. Before I do that, currently Oxygen is tied in first place with Sonics, and this is of course only after 2 Playdays, so they've only played 2 games. They're 2-0, whereas Astralis is 1-1. And they beat, Xset, and they lost to SSG? Is that? No, not SSG. No. Who did they lose to? They lost to... Oh yeah, Sonic, right. So they lost to the other team that's tied in first place, Astralis did, and they beat the current last place team. So it's pretty unclear where that puts them. That means they're just anywhere below the very top and above the very bottom, okay? And Oxygen defeated Mirage, and they beat TSM. So where does that put them? Well, Mirage is right here at the bottom, just 1 round better than Xset right now. And TSM is also just right above Mirage, but TSM's only played 1 game, so they could very well be 1-1 after their second game. So it doesn't necessarily mean too much for Oxygen, because they beat 2 teams that aren't looking that great thus far, but again, only 2 Playdays in. But just off the merit of Oxygen being 2-0 and Astralis being 1-1, I think I'm gonna go with Oxygen here. Like there's not that much evidence from this stage yet to suggest that they're really good, but they did look pretty good in the 2 games that they won though. And not that much evidence to suggest that Astralis is necessarily struggling, and Astralis has won in the past, but I think this is where things turn around. I think OSG is on the boss up this stage. They were really good Stage 1 and then pretty bad Stage 2, and now it seems like they're back on the come up. I'm going to go with OXG for that one. The second game, Dark Zero versus Mirage. Dark Zero won the last 2 times they faced in the NAL, Stage 1 and Stage 2, and they won just barely. I think historically Mirage has beaten Dark Zero it was like the Nerd Street Gaming tournament right before, I can't remember, before Stage 1 or between Stage 1 and 2. I think it was before Stage 1. I think Mirage won, and then they fought again on the lower bracket, and then I think Dark Zero won. I believe it's something like that. I want to say. Maybe I'm mistaken, but anyways, the teams are kind of different now. Even from just last stage. Dark Zero now has Canadian over BC, and Mirage has Thomas over Quartz. So how's this going to change things? Thomas is a good player. Quartz certainly Quartz struggled in Stage 2, which was the only stage of NAL he's played, and Thomas did pretty decent on Xset, which was a struggling team. So Thomas is definitely a good player, and probably an upgrade from Quartz. Maybe not that much of an upgrade, maybe even just a side grade, but Canadian over BC. It's unclear of BC's effects to people watching games, because statistically he seemed to be doing pretty badly, but he was thrown in there from the coaching position. He was previously a really good player, but it seems like probably he had to be a really big contributor to the fact that Dark Zero was able to win all of those overtime games. It's assumed by a lot of people. They have speculated that he, is the Rock or whatever. He was the reason they were able to stay composed and either push it overtime and or win in overtime, which they did most games. I guess every game in the regular season, and then they had some games where things went a little differently at the major. But okay, I'm still gonna go with Dark Zero here. They are bringing in Canadian, a world-class IGL, and one of the most successful players to ever play this game. But one more thing I do want to mention, I believe Canadian just flew in like within the last week or something to Las Vegas, so he's going to be readjusting, and also he's going to have very minimal like in-person play experience with the team. It's hard to say how much they played online together. I imagine they scrimmed a decent bit, but he has very little in-person experience with the team and has no in-person experience on the stage, and also Dark Zero has yet to play this stage. This is going to be their first game. So a lot of factors making Dark Zero a bit of a question mark, but I think with the upgrade they've made, plus their recent success, plus the fact that they beat Mirage in both these games, I'm going to go with Dark Zero. Sonics versus Xset. I think you're going to have to be crazy to pick Xset because it would be a crazy upset if they won. Xset is currently the lowest team, and they're also the lowest team for the stage and also the lowest team overall. And Sonics is tied for first place in the stage and also first place overall, and I suppose they even have the head-to-head overall. So they're basically, over the course of all three stages, the best team, and Xset is by far the worst. So it's gonna be a tough game for Xset. Super was talking about on his stream that Xset should probably not even be worrying about this game so much because presumably they're gonna get destroyed or at least lose, and they play Mirage the very next game, and that is the other team that they're at the very bottom with, and one of the two teams that they were just below. One of the teams they were just below last stage. Xset got 8th and Mirage got 9th. And they did beat them actually. This was the one win that Xset took this stage. It was against Mirage. And I said no. I think never mind. I don't think I said. I think I said something in a previous video that I re-recorded or something. Well, I'll just say what it was. There was a 10 loss streak, and I think I said it was Beast Coast, but now is it Xset that broke the 10 loss streak with the Mirage win? But was Beast Coast also? I don't know. I'm not sure. Beast Coast, I mean, they were on a really long. Oh yeah, actually Beast Coast was probably on a longer loss streak because they just won their last game, but before that they didn't win any games in stage 2, right? And in stage 1 they only beat Xset and Disrupt. So I don't know how many of a loss streak they were on. Like probably more than 10. I don't know which day they got the win in their last win in stage 1. Anyways, okay. Yeah, so that's Sonics versus Xset. And finally, we have Beast Coast versus TSM. I think this day is the hardest to predict of the 3 we've had so far. I mean, obviously, I got them all 4 right on the first day. I didn't think it was terribly hard to predict. This first one could have gone either way before seeing the game. And then the other ones, well, I don't know. It was a little bit tricky. But I think this one is more so. So, because all 3 of these these have been close historically, and then Auction looked really good, but Astralis won in the past, and then for this one, right, Beast Coast got destroyed by TSM last stage 7-0, not even close, obviously they couldn't take a round. This is on Oregon, and TSM defended first, I think, right? So they had a bit of advantage there. It makes it easier to 7-0 someone when you start on the advantage side of a map where that side is very advantaged, I guess. But Beast Coast did beat TSM in the first stage, 7-3. This was I would think it was just the second game of the stage, the second game of the first Playday. And after I saw that game, I thought, man, anything can happen. And at the end of that stage, it was a mix-up season with TSM, Dark Zero, and SSG. None of them in top 4. Oxygen at number 1, and they've been perennial top 4 for the longest time, but usually 4th. they got first. Sonics rose up. Mirage, everything was a surprise except for the Beast Coast and XSET at the bottom. But Beast Coast did had this icy win against TSM day one. And also we must keep in mind that TSM, they lost their game, and so they're 0-1, and Beast Coast won their game, so they are 1-0. Beast Coast is on a bit of an ascendancy, and TSM seems like they're on a little bit of a downtrend with their results at Mexico. They lost to OXG the last day of Stage 2, and then they struggled at Mexico, and they had their reasons with the whole Merc thing, and then beginning of Stage 3, again, they lost Oxygen, so, you know, maybe Oxygen just has their number, and the Mexico thing can be written off. But Beast Coast, they beat down XSET, but, well, it was XSET. So there's a lot of factors to consider here, but I'm still gonna have to give it to TSM because, well, I remember last stage, I didn't do like prediction, but I was talking about it I guess in the recap video after that Playday, but for when XSET and TSM played, XSET was on, a win streak? Because did they beat, I think they beat Beast Coast, and then they beat Mirage, I think back-to-back maybe? So they were on a 2-win streak, and TSM might have been on a 2-lose. Who else did TSM lose to that stage? They lost to... Who did they lose to? I mean, they obviously lost to SSG, but... They beat Sonic? OXG? Okay, maybe they weren't on a... Maybe they're just on a 1-lose streak and they had their bye or something? I don't remember. But they definitely had lost their last game, and XSET definitely had won their last game. So, you know, it was like, oh, maybe. But then, you know, XSET got absolutely destroyed. Right? That was... I think I'm not misremembering that. Anyways. Yeah, so I'm going to go with TSM. So these are going to be my predictions, and you have my reasons there. I think there could be upsets in any of these games, except for probably the third. I mean, this would be a massive upset, but I think it's also, obviously that's why, because it's the least likely. But yeah, I think any of these games could go either way to some extent, especially these two. I think these two are less likely. I mean, because, well, Beast Coast and XSET are just have not been good in the past, but maybe this is the beginning of the Beast Coast boss up based on their last game, and maybe not based on anything except for if they win this could be the beginning of the XSET boss up. To beat SQ would be pretty impressive. So that's gonna do it for my predictions for Playday 3. We'll see how they play out, and I should upload the recap video on Tuesday. No, probably I'll upload it on Wednesday. Yeah, on Wednesday before the next day games start, probably. So look out for that one.